Welcome to the Balanced Assessment System module on Reporting and Data Literacy for the DESSA Alternate Assessment. My name is Michelle Jackson, and as an Education Associate for Special Populations, I am the State Lead for this assessment. This webinar is the second in a series of 3 about balanced assessment systems, so we find it valuable to include this graphic of Delaware's Balanced Assessment System model. Notice each assessment type is color-coded for clarity on how each is integrated. The first module describes this graphic in more detail, but it is important to note that formative and benchmark assessments are assessments for learning, where interim summatives, including state testing, are assessments of learning. The purpose of this module is to provide participants with an understanding of how the DESSA Alt is designed and provide the blueprints for each of the subject areas. You will also gain knowledge of the types of reports available for the ELA Math and Science assessment, as well as how to use and communicate the data. Reports available for each type of assessment will be discussed, and finally I will show you how to access the different kinds of reports and data in Kite. Delaware is a part of the Dynamic Learning Maps Alternate Assessment Consortium, and we use their assessment as our alternate assessment. The DLM alternate of DESSA Alt, as we call it here in Delaware, was designed to measure the knowledge, skills, and understandings of students with the most significant cognitive disabilities. Results from the assessment can be used to inform instructional decision-making, planning for subsequent instruction, and monitoring student performance in a specific area. The entire assessment for each content area is comprised of a series of mini-assessments called testlets. Testlets measure essential elements, often referred to simply as EEs. EEs are the grade-level academic expectations for students who take the DLM alternate assessments. They serve as alternate achievement standards, but they are not extended standards, and they do not target functional skills. The EEs are appropriately challenging for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities and related to the general education standards for college and career readiness. To help all students access grade-level content, each essential element has testlets available at different linkage levels that vary in complexity from the grade-level target. Linkage levels are small collections of nodes. In basic terms, each linkage level is linked to the essential element based on how the student is able to access that essential element. The 5 linkage levels are initial precursor, distal precursor, proximal precursor, target, and successor, with the target level being most closely aligned to the essential element. The graphic on your screen is an example of a minimap. This minimap illustrates an example of the essential element for 4th grade math. Identify coins such as penny, nickel, dime, and quarter and their values, and the 5 linkage levels that would be used to assess that essential element. If the student is able to recognize a penny identified here as M-450, that is a target. If the student is given a money and another object like a ball and can identify money, that is M-2472, recognize money and the proximal precursor level. If the student is able to simply attend to the coin you are holding, that is F-62 or initial precursor linkage level. Therefore, the assessment is designed so that all learners, regardless of their communication or cognitive level, can be assessed on the alternate achievement standards. Each of the subject area assessments has a blueprint. ELA and math are grouped into 4 overarching claims, and the science assessment is organized into 3 domains. I will now show you how to navigate to the site and access the blueprints. For your reference, the direct link is provided on the screen. So here we are at the educator resource page for the year-end model. I'm actually going to go at the very beginning so I can show you how to navigate here. So first, we're at dynamiclearningmaps.org, and then we're going to the state, which is Delaware. And then you can see here different tabs. This tab has the resources for educators and district staff. And so if you click on the educator resource page for English language arts and mathematics, you'll see here that you have the essential elements, and under the essential elements you'll see the blueprint for ELA, the complete list of the essential elements, and the currently tested essential elements. You'll see another tab here that says familiar text, writing, collection list, and also release testlets and sample testlet information pages. So here are the blueprints. And if you look at the blueprint, you can see the 4 major claims. Here are the 4 major claims. And then within each of those claims, you have conceptual areas. So you have determine critical element of text is under major claim number 1, that students can comprehend text in increasingly complex ways. So this shows you the 4 claims, and if you look at the next page, it tells you how many of each are measured in each conceptual elements. Okay, so the number of essential elements per conceptual area that is assessed in each grade. So this one listed out. So for grade 3, here are the claims, and then here are the assessed essential elements. They have been reduced from last year as well. So I'm just going to head back really quickly. Okay. Yeah. And you can see too that you can also find a complete list of essential elements here as well. Okay. So the science EEs, as I mentioned, those science EEs are arranged into 3 domains. So I'll take you there as well. So remember, we can head home. We can go to Delaware. And under that resources tab, we're going to the educator resource page for science. So if you go here to the currently tested essential elements for science, you will see here all the elementary essential elements assessed, the middle school essential elements assessed, and the high school essential elements assessed. And then of course the codes are on the side to further help. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Let us now examine the types of score reports available for use in Delaware. Delaware is a year-end state. Students who complete Dynamic Learning Maps alternate assessments each school year receive individual score reports. Score reports are designed to be useful in preparing individualized education program or IEP documents. The reports may also support teachers in making decisions about instruction, monitoring student progress, and adjusting instruction to meet changing student needs. Score reports contain a lot of information about the student's performance. Here are some things to keep in mind. All of the results you see are based on the student's mastery of knowledge, skills, and understandings in the linkage levels measuring the essential elements. The linkage levels are also called skills in the score report. Finally, the results are based on all the linkage levels for all the tested essential elements. Because of the ordered nature of the linkage levels within essential elements, results provide information about student performance beyond just the linkage levels the student actually tested on during the year. This is an actual Delaware student score report with personal identifying information redacted. The individual score report is called the Performance Profile, which provides broad information about what the student knows and can do in the subject overall. As with scores from other assessments, The performance profile provides one source of evidence of what students know and can do based on their responses to the assessment. Shown here is an example of 2 pages that make a performance profile for a student in grade 4 who took the English Language Arts assessment. The first page of the performance profile begins by providing information about the student's overall results and consequent performance category. The word overall is used because this profile presents a broad view of the skills and performance in the subject assessed. Now let's look at the performance profile in more detail. The top section contains basic information about the student. In the section titled Overall Results, the first sentence explains the total number of skills that could be mastered based on the number of essential elements assessed for this grade and subject. Remember, skills are interchangeable with linkage levels, and there are 5 linkage levels per essential element in ELA. This simply states that for grade 10 ELA, there are 85 skills across 17 assessed essential elements. The second sentence states the number of skills the students mastered in the subject. In this example, the student mastered 24 of the 85 skills. The total skills mastered is calculated by adding the number of skills the student mastered across all essential elements and linkage levels for the subject. You might be tempted to think of this overall performance as a percent correct, like 24 out of 85, but that's not quite accurate. Students do not take testlets at every linkage level for each essential element. Therefore, this student was not necessarily assessed on all 85 skills. So looking at our graphic again, though there are 60 nodes or linkage levels present, a student may not be assessed on all of these. If a student is able to state the value of a penny related to a dime, which is M-514, and at the successor level, this student may not be tested on any of the nodes or linkage levels above. Similarly, if the student is able to recognize a penny but not a dime, they would not be tested on some of the target levels outlined on this map. Performance level information is included next in the performance profile. Once we know the total number of skills mastered in a grade and subject, that number is used to classify each student's overall performance into 1 of 4 performance levels. Representatives from states that use the Dynamic Learning Map's alternate assessments approve the use of 4 performance levels to describe overall student performance in a subject. The performance levels are defined as follows. For emerging, the student demonstrates emerging understanding of and ability to apply content, knowledge, and skills represented by the essential elements. For approaching target, the student's understanding and ability to apply targeted content, knowledge, and skills represented by the essential element is approaching the target. For at target, the student's understanding of and ability to apply content, knowledge, and skills represented by the essential element is at target. For advance, the student demonstrates advanced understanding of and ability to apply targeted content, knowledge, and skills represented by the essential elements. In this example, the student mastered 24 skills and achieved at the emerging performance level. The performance level is named in the third sentence of the overall results section and is shown by the green shaded boxes. Below the performance level on the performance profile is a bullet point list of skills. The skills are examples of typical skills mastered by students who achieve at this performance level in this grade and subject. This list does not cover every skill a student at this level might demonstrate. Instead, it provides an idea of the types of skills that are often demonstrated by students achieving at this performance level. Your student may not have demonstrated all these skills on the assessment and may demonstrate other similar skills that are not listed. This information is continued on page 2 of the student's performance profile as indicated by the snapshot in the lower right corner. The information here can be helpful in explaining to parents or guardians the types of skills commonly demonstrated by students achieving at a given performance level. The final section of the performance profile summarizes student performance for groups of related essential elements. The report shows summaries by yearly conceptual area. The conceptual area bar charts can help identify broad areas of strength and need within the subject. For each conceptual area, the report shows a percentage of mastery. Under the blue percentage bar, a note states the number of skills mastered and the total number of skills available. When looking at the conceptual areas listed on the sample student's performance profile, we can see that the student mastered 37% of the skills that fall within the construct understanding of text conceptual area. However, this student only mastered 20% of the available skills within the integrate ideas and information in writing conceptual area. These results could suggest the student may benefit from additional instruction in learning goals in integrating ideas and information in writing using the essential elements in that conceptual area from this year's grade. Remember, conceptual areas typically have a different number of component skills, and students may not have been assessed on all of the skills within a conceptual area. While each bar can go up to 100%, the number of skills that go into the calculation is likely to be different by conceptual area. Though Delaware is a year-end state, some teachers have elected to use the instructionally embedded assessments throughout the school year. This report is an example of the individual student report available for teachers. Level 1 is the initial precursor linkage level. Level 2, distal precursor. Level 3, proximal precursor. Level 4, target, which is identified by the bullseye. And Level 5, successor. The results here show that this student attempted or completed a testlet in the distal precursor level or level 2. We will now look at how this information is displayed online in the Instructional Planner. In Kite, the information from the first contact survey and personal needs profile are used to generate a testlet at the linkage level. The graphic on your screen is an example of the instructional planner available for teachers using the Instructional-Embedded assessment. The row at the top is a key that helps the teacher determine student progress at a glance. So the student who performed at level 2 or the distal precursor, you can see that the gray flag recommends that linkage level. The student completed a testlet December 6 as indicated by the check mark but did not master the content. We know this because of the X under the date. Let's look at other information provided in this planner. You can see the claim area 1, student can comprehend text in increasingly complex ways. The conceptual area being tested is constructed understandings of text. The first columns show all the available essential elements for that claim and the conceptual area. In this case, the student was assessed on EE.RL.11.12.2, recount the main events of the text, and the linkage level is to identify the theme of a familiar text. So that this is for grades 11 through 12. So that's why you see RL.11-12.2. Okay. A great use of the reports would be to look at data trends for the same student to look at progress and growth. A student who was in grade 4 in 2017 to 18 at one of our special schools mastered 56 out of 85 skills for concepts in grade 4 and performed at approaching the target. That same student mastered 55 out of 85 skills for 5th grade and performed at target. It is important to remember that the linkage level the elements assessed might not be the same, but a teacher might find this information useful. Here is the comparison for the conceptual areas for that same student. Notice that in integrating ideas, there were only 5 skills assessed in 2017-18, while in 2018-19, there were 20 skills assessed in that area, so the percentage is still in the 60s. The level and breadth of the skills assessed at each grade level could also differ, but it is interesting to note that this student is strong at using writing to communicate, mastering all the skills assessed in both years. This might indicate an area where a teacher could seek to challenge a student instructionally. Let's look at this student who was in grade 6 in the 2017-18 school year. This student was assessed on 55 skills and mastered 19. That same student in grade 7 was assessed on 70 skills and mastered 30. Though the student performed at approaching the target, the increase in the challenge of skills is still an area of progress worth noting. Visually, we can see that the student was tested on more conceptual areas and has shown significant achievement in understanding number structures, moving from mastering 0 skills in 2018 to 6 skills in 2019. I will now take you into the Kite portal to show you how to access the reports in Kite. Thank you to Caesar Rodney for allowing me to use your district as a model. So I'm going back onto dynamiclearningmaps.org, and at the bottom of the page, the second column says access, and you'll see Moodle. That takes you to the training site, the test administrator, the test administrator testing site. This is where I'm going to the educator portal login. And I'm going in. Okay, so once I've entered my email and password, this is what the site you'll see, the home page. Now remember too that I'm logged in from a state perspective, so there may be some things here that you see that typically you wouldn't normally see. So of course, under the settings tab, you have things like the student, the users, and the rosters. For the instructional and assessment planner, that's under manage tests. You click on that, and again, thank you, Caesar Rodney. So I'm going to select the school, and I'm just going to pick a grade, and I'm just going to search this way. And so here it is. You can see by the teacher, you can see different state plans for that student. So I'm going now to the reports, to the alternate assessment. So that's how you would set up the planner, but for our purposes, we're going into the reports. The first thing that you can choose to do is monitored summary. This that's being shown is for the instructionally embedded testlets, not the year end, because it is not yet March, so there'll be nothing here. But when the year end season begins, I'll be able to see from a state level how many plans, how many testlets we're taking, etc. So here it is. We have all these plans created, and it tells you how many took one testlet, how many students took more than one testlet. So this is what it looks like from a state level. So I'm going to go down to the district level. And again, I have to be very careful because I'm attempting not to show any PII. So we have Caesar Rodney. Okay, hang on. I'm selecting Caesar Rodney. And here it is from a district level. You can see the number of plans that were created and how many completed more than one testlet. So we have one student in 11th grade that completed a testlet. Okay. So that's kind of what it looks from just a general level. When you get to the instructional embedded, you can also here go to student progress. And then you can choose the language. And then there are students here that I cannot display, but that's how you would get to see their progress. You can also go to the class roster as well. In Kite, there are several ways that you can also see year-end reports. You can see it by individual students or bundled. You can see DCPS student. You can see all kind of information. So let's see, students bundled, you'd pick the report year. You'd select a district. And then from there, here's the bundled for grade 10. Okay, so you can get it bundled by ELA Math and Science. You can get it bundled in various ways. Obviously, I cannot pull these up because of the fact that we have PII information. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you go into Tide, and this dashboard just shows you this is for when you're testing. All right, so this is what it looks like currently in Tide, how to get to those same reports. Okay, so that was just a brief overview of the Kite portal. The final webinar in this series for the DESSA Alt will focus on connecting assessment to curriculum and instruction. So please take a moment to review the other offerings as well. For instance, right before mine, there's coming up Access February 6th. Okay. Each webinar has a description of its intent. Please register in PDMS for any of the webinars that you'd like to take. If you have any questions regarding the information presented, please contact the Content Education Associates listed on your screen. Thank you so much, and this concludes our webinar.